Today, we're jumping into a real medical mystery. It's one that so many people are living with. A tangled web of pain, where different conditions seem to overlap and everything just gets really, really confusing. We're going to follow the clues and see if we can untangle this thing.
And this is where it all starts. This is a real plea from a Reddit user, and it's at the very heart of our investigation. They're not just dealing with ulcerative colitis. They've also got this awful joint pain and sharp, scary chest pain. This isn't just a list of symptoms, right? This is a person who feels trapped, and they're trying to figure out what to do next. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to treat this like a detective story. We'll look at all the evidence, from what patients are saying to what the medical research tells us, to try and understand how these things that seem so separate can actually be so deeply connected. Okay, so first things first, in any investigation, you got to line up the suspects. Let's get a really clear look at the conditions that are causing all this trouble. Suspect number 1, inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. You've probably heard of its two main forms, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Now, you might think of this as just a gut problem, and it's true, the main battle is in the digestive tract. But IBD is notorious for causing ripple effects all over the body. Next up in the lineup is ankylosing spondylitis, or AS. This is also an autoimmune disease, but it's a type of inflammatory arthritis. Its classic calling card is pain and stiffness, especially in the lower back and hips. And here's a key clue. It often wakes people up in the middle of the night, which is exactly what our poster mentioned. And our third suspect, costochondritis. This is the culprit behind that sharp, terrifying chest pain. It's basically an inflammation of the cartilage that connects your ribs to your breastbone. And let me tell you, when this flares up, some people say it feels like their chest is in a vice. It's no joke. And boom, here's our first big break in the case. The common thread tying all of these suspects together? Inflammation. It's the link. Medical sources tell us that costochondritis isn't always a solo act. It often shows up as part of a bigger inflammatory problem, like IBD or AS. And that's how one person can end up dealing with all three at once. So this brings us to a really interesting twist in the investigation. Because when you dig into costochondritis, you find two totally different ideas about what's actually causing it. So, what's the real story with this chest pain? Is it just some mysterious inflammation that pops up for no reason, like a lot of conventional medicine suggests? Or could it be a much simpler, straightforward, mechanical issue? Let's break down these two competing theories. On one hand, you've got the inflammation theory. The cause is often a mystery, and the main treatment is just pain relief. But then you have this mechanical theory, which says, hey, the rib joints in your back are frozen stiff. That forces the joints in the front of your chest to do all the work, and they get strained and painful. See? Two totally different explanations that lead to completely different solutions. I love this quote from physiotherapist Steve August because it just makes so much sense. He says, trying to fix a mechanical problem with anti-inflammatory pills is like trying to fix a jammed handbrake in your car by putting additives in the gas. You're treating a symptom, not the actual root cause of the problem. And this is the tool that was specifically designed to fix that jammed handbrake. It's called the back pod. The whole idea is to give a really targeted, long stretch to those frozen-up rib joints in your back. The goal isn't just to make the pain go away for a little while, it's to get things moving correctly again so you take the strain off the painful spots in the front. But just when it seems like we have a clear path forward, our investigation uncovers a pretty dangerous twist. It turns out that for patients with IBD, the most common treatment for pain can actually make everything a whole lot worse. And this slide lays out the trap perfectly. For almost anyone else with joint or chest pain, what's the first thing a doctor suggests? An NSAID, right? Something like ibuprofen. But here's the kicker. For people with IBD, medical sources are very clear that those exact same drugs can trigger a flare-up of their disease or even cause ulcers. And that brings us right back to our original case file. When that person wrote, "My UC limits my pain medication choices," this is exactly what they were talking about. They are literally caught in a treatment trap, where the normal cure for one of their problems makes their other problem so much worse. Okay, so we've got our suspects, we've found these conflicting theories, and we've uncovered hidden trap. The big question is, where do you go from here? Let's look at the actual steps a patient can take to get through this maze. So what everyone seems to agree on is that you need a multi-part strategy. Step 1, you start with your GI specialist. They're the captain of the ship for your IBD. Then you need a referral to a rheumatologist to really investigate the possibility of AS. Step 3 is crucial, talking about biologics. These are special drugs that can actually treat the inflammation behind both IBD and AS. And you can't forget the other pieces, exploring physiotherapy for that mechanical chest pain, and even looking into special diets to see if you can find any food triggers. So, after following all the leads and looking at all the evidence, it's time to close the case file. What's the final verdict on this tangled web of pain?
Well, the verdict is that it's complicated. There's no single villain in this story. The pain isn't coming from just one thing. It's not just the IBD, or just the AS, or just the costochondritis. They're all interconnected signs of a body that's fighting widespread inflammation and, at the same time, dealing with mechanical problems.
So let's quickly recap what we've learned. First, these conditions are all tied together by inflammation. Second, there are two totally different theories for costochondritis, and both are worth looking into. Third, that NCT treatment trap is a very real and serious danger. And finally, and maybe most importantly, the best way forward isn't to look for one magic bullet. It's about building a team and a strategy that attacks the problem from every angle.